You are tuned to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. Let's just hope everybody can hear me out there. I do have some green lights in front of me that are vibrating up and down that tells me that something is happening. So, therefore, I do hope it is reaching your ears on the other end. If not, just let me know on the chat room. And speaking of chat rooms, just want to mention, we have the OYM chat room, openyourmindradio.com. The chat room is there. Just click on the button on the left hand side. It will say OYM chat room and players. That's the place to be if you want to, well, if you want to just log in and have an old chinwagon, maybe send some recipes, I don't know, some recipes back and forwards, because unfortunately, fortunately, we do have a pre-record. It is Mark Impey, as we have been advertising for the past couple of weeks. He is doing live platform work at the moment in Oldcastle, and Alan is up there with him, supporting him. So they're up there. The boys are having fun. So it means I'm here on my own. So there may be some background noise. If there is, just ignore it. It's just a little 2-year-old who's wondering what Daddy is doing. So, you know, let's we'll just ignore that anyway. If it happens, it may not. She is sitting quietly there, having a boppy, and we should be okay. Anyway, as I was saying, OYMradio.com, the chat room is there. You can come on, you can chat there. Unfortunately, we won't be able to take questions because the show was pre-recorded on Friday evening. Obviously, this bit that I'm doing now is live. If you're listening on Sunday, if you're listening on another day of the week, then this is also pre-recorded. But no, we done a pre-recorded Mark Impey on Friday, so therefore we're going to play that tonight because Mark had some good information. As we did mention, he's a good friend of Alan's, and I obviously met him through Alan, and he's a great guy. He really is. So we're going to be doing that fairly shortly. What else have I got to do? Let me see. peoplesinternetradio.com. We're also streaming on the PIR and United We Strike in the US of A. Now, some people have said on our own chat room here that they can't get on to People's Internet Radio. I'm not 100% sure if that's something that's I don't know. Is it maybe just a glitch in the matrix? Because I do have confirmation from one of the lads on PIR that everything it should be okay there, and maybe just need an L browser refresh or something. Anywho, right, what do we do first? Right, first thing I think I'm going to do is, as is customary on Open Your Mind, we're going to just play the old communication channels for your listening pleasure. As I say, you can ring, but I won't be answering the phone because I'm not up in Studio 1, as we say. So anyway, here goes with the old jingles from Mary.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary. I think Mary was a little bit loud there, but not to worry. Anyway, we on the website there, we have the Facebook link on the left-hand side, as I say, every week, the anti-social media. So if you want to pop along there, see just what we're up to, or if you want to befriend us on so-called anti-social media, then that is the place to do that. We also have, as I mention every week, we have the TuneIn Radio application for your iPhone or your smartphone, your tablet, or any such devices there. That link is down the bottom of the website. If you do have it on your device, the TuneInRadio.com application, just go to the search bar, type in OYM Radio or OYMRadio.com, and you will find us there. And what else have I got for you? Alan has just sent me over a couple of things just to mention. So I'm going to do those now. We want to say a big thank you to everybody who actually went out and took the time and got grounded on the march yesterday in Dublin on the 29th of August. Another clear message being sent to the government. Very, very, very clear message. Of course, I think I did hear something later on the news that the government are they're still ignoring it. They're still playing silly beggars or silly buggers or whatever the phrase is. They're still kind of adamant that this is the way forward, and well, obviously, who could blame them? You know, they are delusional, as we said many times, and unfortunately, it's going to probably take until, well, the next election anyway, to actually really send the message home to these. I was going to say, I'll say gobbeans. I won't say what I was going to say. It was gob something anyway, and it wasn't gobstoppers. Because now, as we know, they're all gearing up for the pre-election BS, as I like to say. They're going to be coming around doors. They're obviously preparing the manifestos, and the water issue is going to be a very, very hot topic on the doorstep when they do come calling. So there's enough information, there's plenty of information on the internet of what sort of questions you should be asking these people, and I think it might be a great idea if people had a list of questions. Don't just rely on memory when they do come calling, because 9 times out of 10 they do come calling when you're either preparing dinner, having the dinner, or just immediately after dinner. So I think have some questions ready to ask these people, and as we mentioned this before, and I think it's a fantastic idea. Ask the questions. Get them when they give you the answer. Write down the answer, and then ask them. Okay, now I've asked you the questions. You've given me the answer. Will you sign that? Will you just endorse that with your signature, and watch them run? Watch them run from your door to your neighbours. Anyway, again, fantastic. Well done to everyone who was at the march yesterday. Now, what else is on the agenda? The stock market, Alan has here for me that the stock market on Monday is at 74 billion written off on Monday alone. An ex-advisor for Prime Minister Gordon Brown in the UK says to stock up on food, etc., as things might get rough. Now, things might get a little bit rough. Where have we heard that before? Well, we've been singing it from the pulpit here in OYM for a long time now, because we just don't know what's around the corner. We do know that something big is most likely going to happen. What it is, we don't know, but we're going to stock up on the usuals, the non-perishables and the toilet roll, as you do. So, again, that's coming from Gordon Brown. Seemingly, if there is a stock market crash and a crisis, will this give, Alan is wondering, and other people are wondering too, will this give Enda Kenny the opportunity to postpone a general election, like President Obama seems to be doing at the moment? Well, we don't know. Hard to say. What else on the agenda? During the week, anyone who's watching Facebook may have seen that there was an eviction in Kells, County Meath, and as per usual, Alan done his best to get down there. When he heard what was happening, he flew down, and unfortunately the road was blocked. The guards actually had the road blocked, and they would not let anybody in unless you were resident in the area. So obviously people went down there to help out, and it's just disgraceful that the guards are now blocking off roads. And again, I don't even know if this eviction if they had prior notice. It's our understanding that they didn't. It was kind of a stealth eviction. Again, I don't know if that's 100% accurate. We will have to check it out, I suppose. What else we got? IrishExaminer.com says a man with multiple sclerosis who displays a disabled driver badge in his car was arrested and taken to Cork prison in his wheelchair after refusing to pay a €40 fine. Unbelievable. You couldn't make that up, really, could you? I mean, arrested and taken to Cork prison in his wheelchair. It beggars belief. I mean, look, we've seen so much of this on the internet of recent times, of the Gardaí and the way they're going, and I don't know who they think they are, but I think there was actually a post up on the internet during the week of, I think it was could have been back 20 years ago when the Gardaí went on strike, and it was overpay, and at that point in time I think a lot of people had some respect for the guards, and we would have supported them in their strike. And it was just kind of a question that was asked: if the Gardaí were to go on strike again, would we support them? I think not, because of what's happened of recent times, the way they've become kind of thugs. I think that's probably a good word to use. They've become thugs, and I don't think they would be supported. Well, that's again, there's another question for politicians when they do come a knocking. What else we got? The Ware Bank, W-E-R-E, or Where the bank. Peter of England done a fantastic video. We've seen this during the week. I've watched, obviously, 90% of it, I was near the end, but I was just tired. I had to go to bed, so I'm not sure what happens in the end. I don't know if it was a happy ending. But Bank, Peter of England, the WERE Bank. I am going to post a link here. I have the link, and I'll stick it up in the chat room so you can see what that's about. What else have we got? Yeah, fantastic news with my own children here. They've started to ask a lot of questions. My daughter asks a lot of questions in relation to government and the fact that, you know, all this stuff is going on about the protests and the water and evictions. She's of the age now, she's 14, she's starting to ask a lot of questions, and I'm giving her the answers I can. She's wondering, she also asked me just today, was things like this when you were growing up, when you were my age? I said, well, it probably was, but we didn't really have much of a way of finding out, because our parents, the previous generation, they would have just went to work, paid their taxes, and were good boys and girls, and they didn't really know any different. But I think thanks to social media, or anti-social media, and the internet especially, is, I think, a fantastic tool for educating a lot of us, so therefore we can pass on that knowledge to our children and educate them. And it's all about just get people asking questions. I think it's fantastic. Even my own son, we had an incident during the week. We generally don't have fizzy drinks in the house, and we generally just, like, for having meals, it will be a glass of water, and that's fine. With my son, we were away for a couple of days, and he was, let's just say, he had some Coke, and we figured, we're away for a couple of days, a little break from the norm, let him enjoy himself. Until one night he had a terrible headache. It's not like him to get headaches, so we didn't know. We were kind of thinking, Jesus, are we going to have to rush him off to hospital? We honestly didn't know what to do. So in the end, my wife said, well, the only thing that he's kind of out of the ordinary is Coke. So we actually went and bought him a Coke, gave him the Coke. Within 5 minutes, the headache was gone. So we kind of thought, that's strange. So I didn't want him getting addicted to Coke. And again, I tried to explain the dangers of it to him as well. I found a couple of videos on YouTube. I'm not even going to bother posting links. There's plenty of them out there. But just a couple of videos in relation to, Coke and, say, side effects and kind of what's in it and what it can do to you. So he was quite happy to look at that. Wasn't very happy that he wasn't going to be having any more Coke until his next holiday, if at all. But anyway, that's kind of pretty much everything on the list for this side of the interview. Anyway, if anyone has texted me on the chat room, I do apologise. I don't have it open here in front of me. So I will have it open in a moment, and I will touch base with everyone there. I do have the pre-record with Mark Impey lined up now, and we're going to just get stuck into that. So, without further ado, I'm going to play Mark Impey, recorded on Friday evening with myself and Alan. Hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah, we'd like to introduce international media Mark Impey. Mark has just flown in. He came in on Friday evening. We grabbed him quickly to do the pre-record. Now he's planning to do a workshop on Saturday, and obviously on platform in Old Castle on Sunday. Obviously, when you hear the podcast, he will be on platform. Good evening, Mark. How are you?
Good evening, Al.
Brilliant. Good to see you. Good to have you back over here.
Pleasure.
So, okay, so you're going to have you're over here for a few days.
Yeah.
And you got a packed weekend.
Definitely, yeah.
So you'll have the workshop on Saturday. You know you have readings to do.
Yeah.
You'll be doing platform. You are taking a couple of days just to yourself and for your other half to explore, do a bit of kind of checking out the heritage of County Meath, and I'll be your tour guide for the couple of days doing that, and then you're heading back on Tuesday. And I did notice that the amount of work that you're doing in the churches over in the UK and the spiritual centres is phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. It's very tiring, but to serve is actually an honour, real honour to sort of serve Spirit. And I suppose once it's in your blood, you never give up, do you really?
Yeah.
And it's helping people. That's the main thing about being a spiritualist medium, to help other people, to make a difference, to help and heal.
Exactly. Well, we're going to get into that. I mean, I've known you now as you're a mate of mine, and I've known you now for about 10 years. Yeah. And I remember the early days in London, and I remember us jumping around in the car, and you were busy, but it's now the amount of churches.
Phenomenal.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's just, I don't know how you keep up with it. And
I don't need, especially at my age.
Well, you do. You have the energy, and you're doing it, and you're doing so much for the people. Now, there's a few things we're going to be talking about tonight on regarding topics, and a few things that I know you want to clear up and clarify, because on your website, which is circleofwhitelight.com, you do have a lot of FAQs for people who ask questions and they want to clarify a few things. But there are main questions that get asked over and over again. So we're going to go through a few of them questions.
Sure,
and get through them. But fundamentally, I think what we need to talk about first is being a medium. What does being a medium involve, and what is the difference between a psychic and a spiritual medium? And, you know, one thing I have said, and I respect you for years, is that you've always stayed grounded. You've always stuck to what spiritual mediumship is to prove that there's life after death and give messages to people that there's no way you'd actually know about this.
True, it's about healing. The worst thing in life is, actually losing somebody. And I've met many people whose lives have actually fallen apart once they've lost someone so close to them. They can't function anymore. They're frozen in time. They don't want to go out. They don't want to communicate with people. But time and time again, those in spirit who come through always say, get on with your life. Once you get on with your life, I'm happy, because you're living your life. And you shouldn't freeze when somebody passes the world spirit, because there's no such thing as death, and they are with you.
They're with you all the time. Now, one of the things that people have also, people have said to me, and something that happened to me when I lived in London, was that spirits, or people who've moved over, sometimes want to be remembered, or they want to be recognised, and that might manifest in a number of ways. Sometimes you might be in the house and you might hear a knock, or little things might happen to try and get your attention.
Well, one of the main things they do is muck around with electricity, like light bulbs blow and television turns itself on, or a radio goes on and it's their favourite tune sort of thing. It's just coincidence sort of thing, but they can influence things. I always remember at my mother's funeral, we sat down in the second row at the back. The second row at the front, behind front row, and no word of a lie, a hymn book actually jumped out of the tray in the front and onto the floor, and people were sitting still. I mean, you can put it down to coincidence, I suppose, but you've got to think out of the box with these things. You really have, because there's more to what the eye can meet sort of thing with spirit.
Yeah, and I think people shouldn't fear it.
No.
If something like that happens, they shouldn't fear it. There are, as Mark says, our physical body might die, but our energy lives on. And sometimes our relatives or friends want to give us a message, and they try and get our attention by doing that. And some people get fearful over it.
Well, we only fear things that we do not understand.
Exactly, Yeah, exactly. So the best thing in that situation is, if you're concerned about it, then obviously try and find a local spiritualist church or centre, speak to a medium, and tell them about the experience you're having. And I'm sure any medium would be happy to put your fears to rest, and maybe come around and I'll find out, or do a reading for you, just to see if somebody's trying to communicate with you.
I mean, I know you're talking about what's the difference between a spiritualist medium and a psychic. Well, basically, psychic things are things like tarot cards, ribbon reading, sand reading, things like that. And they actually tune in, or aura reading. They tune into your earth lives, those who are psychic people as such. And but a spiritualist medium actually is contacted by your granny or whoever on your side, who wants to communicate with you. And that's the difference between a spiritualist medium. And the spiritualist medium is there to serve, to bring through that healing through the evidence, not the proof. The proof is provided by the person who receives the message. Yes, that's true, things like that. But the evidence.
Okay, so how do you know the difference between... I know there's a lot of psychic people out there, but there's very few spiritual people. And I know a spiritual medium can work psychically, but very few psychics can work spiritually.
True, yeah.
So what's the difference? If a psychic gets a message, how do they know whether it's spirit or it's psychic?
Well, it's obviously by the evidence. If it's true, then the person who's receiving the message or the card reading will say, yeah, that's true. But they may get little glimpses of the person in the world spirit. Yet a true spiritualist medium above the psychic will get a whole communication, guidance, evidence of how the person passed the world of spirit, who was standing around the bed at the time, 3 people standing around the bed, 1 person held your right hand and squeezed it 3 times and you passed the spirit. At the funeral it rained all day long, sort of thing. What the person's been doing recently, loved one in spirit has seen, like dropped a bottle of milk on the floor this morning. Yep, that's true.
So it's all down to evidence.
Evidence is king, definitely.
Yeah. Now, obviously some people think that the whole kind of mediumship, spiritual side is all woo-woo. Can we kind of define the difference between what you do and the woo-woo stuff?
The woo-woo stuff. Generalisations. Generalisations can cover anyone. If you stood up in a spiritualist church and said, can anyone understand the George in the world of spirit? Well, yes, it's, that generation, it's 2 generations perhaps above mine or 1 above mine. There was Georges and Marys sort of thing, so a few hands go up and there you are. Whereas I will work different. I will go straight to the person and say, there's a Harry in the world of spirit. He died in 1942. He fell down the stairs and never recovered and da-da-da-da-da sort of thing,
So it's more evidential and it's more specific. So let's put it this way.
Intricate evidence.
Well, as you've said to me before, if a medium says, well, I have somebody here in the world of spirit and it's a relative with grey hair, pretty vague,
general,
really. Very general. But if you said, grey hair, wooden leg, 4 medals, smoked a pipe, that's pretty good.
Yes, that was my granddad's sort of thing, because you're describing the person. You're being shown clairvoyantly. Now, clairvoyance is either objectively or subjectively, Objectively, a spirit appearing in front of you, like an apparition. But the opposite is in your mind. So you're seeing it, and you're describing what you're being shown. It's being transmitted into your mind, and you are laying it on, repeating it to the person who's receiving the message.
Okay, is this your third eye kicking in?
Yeah.
So your pineal gland.
Yeah, that's linked to it, yeah.
Okay, because we do talk about that, and we do talk about the fluoride in the water calcifying the pineal gland, shutting down our third eye, so we can't do this. And this is one of the things that the elites are trying to do, is to stop us having that connection to spirit, to source. And by putting fluoride in the water along with other chemicals, it can calcify the pineal gland and stop us activating our third eye.
To a point, but I think the world of spirit is a bit more sort of clued up than that, and spirit will intervene where they can, any way they can, to bring their message forward one way or another, Not everyone takes fluoride,
Yeah, well, sometimes they're fluoridated, depending on the country. Yeah. Ireland is heavily fluoridated over here.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us, we have a guy over here called Keith Barry, and there's also Darren Brown as well. And we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And any time you talk about mediumship, the mainstream media, as usual, lambast the mediums, and they say it's a sideshow, circus trick, and everything else. Now, I've known you for 10 years, and I've known, the readings that you've done, and I've been involved with you on readings.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that you do not have a degree in psychology and human behaviour or illusions, and you're not part of the magic circle.
No.
So, my understanding is that you worked hard to do this, to develop this ability, because you don't have them skills of Keith Barry and Darren Brown.
Well, it was years of sitting in a circle, going around to Lynn's, the other side of town, rain, sun, snow, waiting at cold bus stops and being dedicated as such, but sadly these days it's the instant coffee X Factor generation where people want to be this instantly, and it doesn't work that way, I'm afraid. You won't get an instant mediumship degree.
Now let's just clarify this. There are people who can develop, which takes a long time to develop, right? Because we all have the ability to develop.
In various ways. Some are more stronger than others, people. Yeah.
But you have mediums who are born, and they have the gift, but that they still need to be trained, because it's like a very rough, talented footballer.
It's a discipline.
Yeah, they need to join a football club to get the edges filed off. So, and there are, very good born mediums, but everybody has an ability of some level if they work on it.
To a degree, yeah. I would have loved to have been signed up by Chelsea, put it that way. But I was never a good footballer at school as a young lad. And these days I couldn't play football because my knees have gone anyway. I've been limping up the pitch as such.
Oh, by the way, we'll be doing the pain genie on Mark.
We can fix them knees.
Yeah.
3 screwdrivers, I know. Spanner. But some people were born to be a Pele.
Yeah. Well, if I can just ask a question, Mark, it's a question that may interest some people. When you discover that you want this is your path in life, was it something did something happen at a young age and made you look into this, or was it just like you woke up one morning and said, I think I'm going to be a psychic medium?
One, it was a curiosity. 2, I was very sensitive as a child. I felt things and that. I was very creative in that. And I probably said this before on the show a year or 2 ago. I met a young lady when I was, in my 40s, something like that. And she was a medium. And she said, one day you'll be a medium. This was in 1991, something like that. And I laughed me off, said, all mediums are weird, sort of thing. She said, no, you mark my words, one day you'll be a medium, you'll be going here, there and everywhere. 12 years later, I decided to go down the local Spiritualist church. Got hooked. Found it fascinating. So yeah, just don't sort of wish away what you're given, because all things are possible in life. And also, I want to emphasise it. The training of mediums is so important, because sadly these days everyone wants to be a medium, wants to be seen as an important person. They're 10 a penny these days. But what is lacking in many ways is the quality of the mediumship, the evidence given, etc. You can't get it instant. You have to sit in circle, discipline yourself, learn the ropes, and come out and still develop. I'm not the full item. I'm still developing 12, 13 years later. And it's an onward road you have to go down, and discipline and dedication is important. I mean, if you're going to a circle, your spirit guides turn up and you're not there. So,
yeah.
Dedication is important. Spirits see this.
Yeah.
He's the guy we can work with because, he's dedicated, he's committed, etc. And that's what's so important. It's back to basics. Learn the ropes is so important. You won't get it instantly, and if you try to do it that way, you will be disappointed, because it does not work that way. It's an evolution, an unfoldment over time. I've
been in your circle, and I don't know whether we should mention how we hooked up.
Go ahead, go on.
Right, okay. I won't do the long story, I'll do the short story, right. Basically, my third eye was active. And basically, when I lived in London, a lady on the road was a medium, and she knew my partner. And I said to my partner, why don't you bring this lady in? And I never met her before. And I said, we'll have a cup of tea, because I'm interested in what she had to say about mediumship. So Leslie come in, and we sat down and had a cup of tea. And Leslie said to me, do you want me to do a reading? And I said, with my cough, I said...
You had it back then as well.
I had it back then as well. It's gone on a long time. I said...
You had a fag at the time.
I said to Leslie, yeah, give me a reading. I was a bit sceptic. Give me a reading. Go on.
I'll go on.
So Leslie proceeded to tell me stuff that I kind of didn't know about. So I said, I'm going to have to check this out. So I rang up my family and said, I've just got a reading and I've been told this. Is this right? And my family said, yeah, that's right. That's bang on. And I thought, that's spooky. So then I said to Leslie about my third eye being active, and she gave me her car keys, and she said, now I know it's called psychometry.
Yeah.
But at the time I didn't know. I was reading the energy from the keys, and she said, tell me what you get with that. And I kind of sniggered a little bit, and I closed my eyes, and she said, what you get? And I said, well, I've got a car, but I said, it's like a classic car, it's not, a new car. And then she said, what colour is the car? And I said, it's yellow. And I kind of laughed, and I said, does that mean nothing to you? And she said, well, myself and my husband like going to classic car shows, and their favourite one is a yellow one. And I went, oh, that's spooky. And then she said, you have to join the circle. And of course, this is about 2 weeks after I had my awakening of the New World Order. when I realised, and I thought, that's it, there's no solution to this. So, to cut a long story short, I went up to a spiritual centre, and I met Mark's circle master, or circle leader, Lynn, and Lynn said, she's too busy, but she said, here's a number, ring Mark, ring this chap here, ring Mark. So I thought, okay, I'll ring Mark. So I rang Mark up, and the first thing Mark said to me is, why do you want to be a medium or get involved in being in the circle, again in the circle? And I said, well, to help people out, really.
Yep.
And he said, right, that's the right answer. So then I joined Mark's circle, and as I say, he was a taskmaster, but fair play to him. You need that in a circle. There's no point sitting back. I mean, he pushed us, and I appreciate him doing that in the circle. And as Mark said earlier, there was people in there, and they thought that was like a 2-week FOSS course where you go in and then 2 weeks later you come out as Gordon Brown and you're on platform doing readings. Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way.
Gordon Brown.
Is it Gordon Brown or
Gordon Smith?
Gordon Smith.
That's a politician.
Gordon Brown.
He knows nothing about.
He's a crop medium. Gordon Smith. Sorry, Gordon Smith, if you're listening. Yeah, Gordon Brown's a crop medium. So, but it's funny that when you say in circle, when people were trying too hard, it's just, and you could see them trying too hard in circle. But our paths kind of went a different way because, I moved away from London, and obviously, I was doing what I was doing, and then OYM came knocking, but I still am involved on the spiritual side on a part-time basis when I can. And do a little bit. But again, as you say, it was brilliant in the UK because the UK has loads, as you know, of spiritual centres and churches.
Especially around London, yeah.
Especially around London. And you do all of them, and you're well known on all the churches and the centres. When I came back over here to Ireland, I thought, oh great, okay, let's join the circle and get involved. And nothing. So I did find a circle when I was living in Dublin for a short period of time, and thanks to the lady who had a circle there, and we had a good kind of circle down in Dublin, and it was a very good circle.
Yeah.
So sorry, Mark.
Talk a little bit about the New Age stuff,
Yeah, well, I'd like to define. I'd like you to talk about that because people get confused between, as I say, the nut and bolts mediumship and all the woo-woo New Age stuff. So, what's your take on that?
Well, meditation was only adopted by spiritualists in the 1950s, basically, sort of thing, and it has become part of the development sort of thing. But what we do now is attunement, just attuning with our guides. And it's a lot more powerful way of getting contact, getting understanding, and the message through from spirit guides and spirit people. But with the New Age stuff, I mean, let's put it this way, I know someone who come up to me, a New Age person, and said, oh, so you're a spiritualist medium, are you? I said, yeah, spiritualist medium, that sort of thing. So, well, I actually channel ascended masters and higher spirits. I said, oh, that's good for you, fantastic. And it just sounded a little bit snobbish, to be honest. I thought, yeah, whatever, sort of thing, I said, no, hang on, wait a minute, how do you help other people? And he looked a bit sort of blank at me,
Good question.
Sort of head in the sort of clouds and that sort of stuff. I said, look at it this way, spiritualist mediumship is there to help people, You saying, how can you prove what you actually do? Where's the evidence?
Yeah.
Whereas spiritualist medium can say to a lady sitting in the audience, got your son here, passed in a road traffic accident on the way to school, a zebra crossing, a blue car was involved, he knows you moved recently and he likes the new house and you took the old green carpet with you, etc., and put it in the hallway where it used to be in the old house, sort of thing. And I got the name Simon. Yes, that's his name, comes the reply, sort of thing. And he says, he's fine where he is now in the world of spirit. Get on with your life and be happy. I'm watching over you and walking by your side. And by the way, yesterday you dropped the butter dish and it broke. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Because he saw it.
Yeah.
Now, it's about helping people.
Yeah.
Helping people heal.
Yeah. And evidence.
And the evidence helps the people heal, because how would I know? And I never met these people before in my life, And some people say, yeah, but we were mind reading, and the person's probably not even thinking about what you're coming out with at that time.
Yeah, of course.
As such. And it goes back to when I was serving Cheshire Spiritualist Church. The lady who's the president there said to me, I've got a message for you, Mark. Come to me after the service. We'll sit down and I'll give you a message. Okay, so I did the service. sat down, and she said, well, I've got an Elizabeth on your mum's side and an Arthur on your dad's side. I thought, I don't know any Arthurs on dad's side. Someone over and asked my dad, was there an Arthur in the family? Yes, there was. He was so-and-so, 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 to do with your granddad, and da-da-da-da. He was in the army, etc., 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 professional soldier. And so how could this woman mind read me, give me that name, when I didn't know this person existed?
Well,
until asking my dad afterwards.
Yeah, well, that was the same with Leslie. What Leslie told me, I didn't know. I had to ring my family, and my family confirmed it, and then I went back to Leslie. You know, and sometimes, excuse me, sometimes you're in a place where the last thing you're thinking of is spirit. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And this happened to me. I remember when my son, when he was in his about 8 or 9, he was doing karate classes, Waterkoi, and I was sitting beside a lady I knew, not a neighbour, but a lady I knew from the school runs, and her little boy was doing it as well. And basically, I was sitting there just watching my son, minding my own business, and then I got this message saying, from a young man saying, tell my mum to get the locket. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I kind of said, well, where did that come from? So I said, Val, the lady's name was Val, funny enough. I said, Val, Val, you know, I know this might seem very strange to you, but I kind of do involved a little bit on the spiritual side. And I got a message from a young man. He says, go ahead and do the locket. Why haven't you done the locket? You know, it's got to do with the locket. And I said, can you take that information? Yeah. And she turned around and she said, well, I had the 20-year-old son that died in a car crash, and I was thinking of getting a locket of his photo and her other, either herself or another photo.
How would you have known that? It's evidence.
How would I have known that?
You've been told that by somebody else, a spirit person. Yeah. And she said, I was thinking of doing that, I haven't done it. And I said, well, I've just got a message through saying you need to do it. I mean, obviously Spirit know about this. He's obviously reading his mother's mind, her intentions, what she's thinking, and passing it through you back to the mother, you know. Yeah. So she come back to me a couple of weeks later when I seen it, and she said, oh, I got the locket. Yeah, excellent.
Just a question. If, let's say, for argument's sake, this lady had lost her son, and she was troubled. She couldn't get over, she couldn't accept it. I'm guessing, I'm not guessing, I'm going to ask you, because you would know. Do spirits hang around and try to communicate with the living, try and find a vessel or a channel, let's say like you or Alan, to give a message to help the other person heal? And after the message is conveyed, and let's say the woman then, she heals, she can accept it, she knows her son's in a better place, does the spirit then go elsewhere? Do they go to a higher plane and are they gone, or do they stay where they are and watch over the mother?
Can I just go back to the New Age fella? With all respect to the New Age fella, I'm not sort of knocking anyone on being snobby sort of thing, but it's what we start talking about now. It's all about the healing, the evidence, and that sort of thing. Whereas if you're talking to ascended masters, all respect to you, is it evidence? But it's evidence giving things through that a person who is listening to a message can understand, coming from her young child, say, etc. But yes, spirits definitely look for a vessel to communicate with. Imagine somebody moves away, say they go off to Canada sort of thing. You know, when I get there I'll let you know I'm okay, and you hear nothing. What will you do? Worry. Worry. All of a sudden a phone call comes through, or a letter comes through, or a postcard comes through, I'm fine, arrive safely, just sorting things out, I'll get back to you sooner or later. It's the same thing there. They simply moved on to a higher dimension, and they wish to communicate back to say, I've seen you crying, not being able to get on with your life, please get on with your life, I'm okay, I'm fine. And remember, pain is only human. Yeah. Once you pass from the physical body, that pain is gone.
Now, Mark, you're not knocking anybody for what they do, especially obviously people that are involved in the angel side and all that. And all that's fine if they want to get involved in that. But you can't prove angels to anybody. You can't materialise an angel in front of them. But if, as a medium, spiritual medium, you can turn around and give them evidence, and that's what it's all about. And I think it's important for us to define the difference between a spiritual medium and maybe New Age or it's all about the evidence, really.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day.
I mean, angels appearing is usually a personal thing. It's a one-on-one generally. You know, I know people who said they've seen angels, and they don't have wings. They're just energies, timeless energies as such, kind of thing. But yes, it boils down to evidence. You know, spiritualists, they don't believe, they know. They know by the evidence that comes forward. And where's it coming from? You know, yes, there are fraudulent people out there where there's money involved, there will be fraud, etc. But there is a certain ethics involved, you know, with it all, and a responsibility as well. But that's why if you are a medium out there, never make things up. If you're drawing a blank, say to them, look, sorry, I'm getting nothing, and sit down. That's so important, the ethics bit. Once you go down that road of deception, well, you know, you're opening a negative can of worms, basically, as such. But basically what it boils down to is healing hearts, helping people on the earth get on with their lives by providing the evidence that we do survive physical death.
Yeah. Do you want to answer Steve's question there? You want to, you know, the question you had about you're talking about if people die, about coming back.
Oh, about if whether the spirits hang around or not. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why I asked that question, because my wife, she lost her grandmother years ago. Now she was very close, and she said to me, by her own admission, I was very close to my granny. And, you know, growing up as a teenager, you know yourself, when you're a teenager, your parents don't understand you, but for some strange reason, her granny seemed to be kind of hip, cool.
Always go to your grandma or granddad and tell them anything,
But her granny seemed to be more in tune with a young teenager. So she said she used to go to granny, and if she was having troubles or whatever, she'd talk to granny, and granny would give her some advice, and everything seemed much better. And she said to me, within the past couple of years, any time that she is having issues, now I'm not saying marital issues, but you know, just day-to-day problems that may affect a woman, and she said that often she will just, in her mind, she'll just talk to her granny, and she say, you know, she put the problem to granny, and sometimes an answer will pop into her head, and then she says, in and around when that happens, she actually smells the granny. She said, like, there was a certain smell. I'm not saying she was dirty, but you know, there's kind of a certain smell. Maybe it was perfume.
Mothballs.
That's probably what it was. But she said she'll often get that smell just after this happens, and you know.
That is called clairgustance. Now, the clairs are clear. Clair means clear. Clairvoyance, clear seeing, clear sentence, etc., sort of thing. Clairgustance is actually you can smell the person's tobacco. Aftershave. Swore figure and all, so you know that person was perhaps a mechanic and did cars and that sort of thing. It's another little tip that spirit will give and help with the communication. But spirit can't live your life for you. You have to make your own decisions, your own choices, because basically this world and this life is a classroom. And you've got to learn the ropes and become stronger. And maybe, you know, especially with mediumship, a lot of the really good mediums have been through such a lot in their life. So much suffering and pain, and the reason is, how can you empathise with someone if you have not lived through that same experience yourself? Especially when you're giving messages, so it fine-tunes the medium up because of the experience they've lived through, if that makes sense. But yes, they are close to us. I mean, a spirit can travel by thought. You know, they don't need airplane tickets like we did today. They can. I want to be with my granddaughter there straight away, or they hear your thought or feel your thought.
But they never. Would it be fair to say that then they never actually pass outside a realm where they can communicate with you? Like if you think of them. I mean,
a thought is a very powerful thing, isn't it?
Well, they say a thought has a frequency, and it can be measured. It
can be sent out, can't it? Picked up.
So, like, that's where I was wondering: is there a door where, like, the spirits who want to communicate and give you a message and help you on your path, they're within these four walls, if you like, and then once you're happy enough and you're on your life, you're living your life, your problems are, you know, reasonably okay, do they pass on to a higher level from which they cannot return to help you, or is it a case of once you think they can come back?
I do believe they can always return. Obviously, they're doing things in the world of spirit. You know, they're learning themselves. It's another evolution, another step towards their own maturity in that in that aspect, sort of thing. But where love is, you know, it's so important that love can reach out and they respond to it. You know. So most definitely, you know, they're not sort of locked away somewhere where they can't come back.
That's That's pretty much what I meant.
It's an open door between two dimensions, whereas they don't have a heavy body to lug around like we do. They can just be there by thought. It's a consciousness. It's when we pass the world spirit, we take our thoughts, our memories, emotions, and we leave this old body behind. And we get out the old milk float, which was our human body, and into a lovely red Ferrari as such, in that kind of way. Different kind of body and things like that. But
what about negative people? What about people who are murderers and stuff like that? Because we hear stories of people who will pass over, and we know they keep the same personality.
They're stuck in that mindset.
They're stuck in the mindset, and they're on the airplane. They're afraid to actually cross over to the light because of the repercussions that they might get. And this is what's being said. What's your kind of take on that? What's your understanding of that?
A lot of people do cross over, and they're actually caught within this atmosphere, this earth life as such. We've all seen the film Ghost, haven't you? You know, they hang around sort of thing, you know, kick the can on the station and that. A lot of them don't believe in the world of spirit, and they deny it. It's there, but they deny it, you know, as such. And a lot of people will run circles, rescue circles, where they actually come in contact through trance with spirits who are actually trapped on the earth and help them cross into the light. But definitely when you pass the world of spirit, you go naturally where you're mentally supposed to be. That makes sense. Well, so if you're a murderer, you go to the lower
level. You go to the frequency that you are
attracted to naturally in that kind of way. But it does not mean that, you know, let's be controversial here. People like Hitler cannot develop and grow to the higher levels. Once you accept that what you've done is wrong, it gives you the open door to move higher.
Well, we've heard this before on the show, I'm sure. Where you will go vibrate when you pass over, you will vibrate, go on the dimension of the frequency, like attracts like, on the frequency that suits your frequency. And we've heard that before from other people on the show, funny enough. Now, I don't know whether you remember this, you probably do, Mark. When, I think it was 2006, we did the Haunted Ireland with the production team. And before the cameras were rolling, I don't know whether you remember, a spirit came through called Andrew, and the first thing he said was, "Am I dead?" Now, why would he say that?
Because he hasn't realised he's actually passed.
So sometimes spirits cross over and they still kind of think they're in the physical plane.
Stuck in the earth mindset on the physical plane, So
like the movie Ghost. You know, I mean, we have to kind of look at that movie. I mean, what was your take on that? How accurate do you think that movie was?
Very accurate. I mean, he was actually stuck because his love was for his wife, and he couldn't move on. You know, and also things were done wrong to him that he had to address. Let's put it that way. You know, so in many ways it was quite accurate.
So he was stuck on the airplane to come back and resolve the issues that need to be done. And when they were taken care of, then
he could cross. Also,
over.
People who are very materialistic, or you know, they've got a lovely house and they do not want to leave it, and etc. Sort of, and they're earthbound as well. A lot of those kind of people, sadly. But I do believe that not every soul is earthbound for an eternity. There are those teams in the world of spirit who are trying to help those earthbounds, as people here with rescue circles. The spirit do also have teams as well to try to pull those people through into the light. Okay,
let's talk about the paranormal. Now, there's enough TV programs out there, and I've seen a few of them. Paranormal State, The Haunted, Most Haunted. They're all loads and loads of programs out there. And if you watch, we know some of them are going to be, you know, played up a little bit, obviously, for the camera. Okay, we can accept that. But there is a level of authenticity with them, that there are things that are happening, or they feel things are happening and they can't explain it. And I'm pretty sure, because, you know, we're in a universe of duality, positive and negative. So it's only obvious that if there's the light workers and light and positivity, there has to be the opposite to that.
Also, there's yin and yang, isn't it?
And I'm sure there's satanic worshippers doing satanic stuff in negative energies. You know, it's only obvious. You know, let's face it, right? And there's obviously places that are haunted, and there's energies in there, and there's residual energies left over.
Residual,
or people who haven't moved over because they don't want to move. That's where they live, and that's their house, and people have gone in and upset, changed the building, and they get upset, and all that kind of stuff. And I've seen a lot of these programs and looked at them out of interest. What's the one I recently seen out of interest, and I have to say this, is that there was a paranormal team. There's always kind of paranormal team that get called in. And a number of the paranormal groups, the first thing they say when they interviewed is, we approach this from a scientific point of view. Now, there's no harm in doing that.
No.
But the last one I watched, your woman actually got possessed by a demonic force. Now, was she playing up to the camera, or did it really happen? I don't know. I wasn't there. But it's funny that they say we approached it from a scientific side, but there's no protection prayers, there's no understanding of energy, there's no understanding of being attacked, because we know that if you take drugs, alcohol, stuff like that, it does change your frequency and open up.
You are working with things you can't see. So if you fell in the sea, it's a wise idea to put a life jacket on, isn't it? Until you get picked up by a boat eventually, maybe 5 hours later, I don't know. Prayer is very important. We work in the light, or we work in the darkness. No ifs and buts, you know. It's a declaration. I work in the light.
And when you say prayer, you're not talking about religion now, right?
Well, religion is man-made, isn't it? Let's face it, you know. Doesn't mean you can't believe in a creator of goodness. And spirit often come back and they talk about the creator, God,
source, energy, mind creator,
universal mind, call it what we will. But I think definitely with TV programs, and let's put it this way, I've been approached by some TV programs, and I haven't really sort of, you know, been interested, because they want you to do this, want you to do that, cheat a little bit, and etc. You know. And let's face it, it's for entertainment purposes.
Well, let's just clarify what happened with the TV program that we got approached in 2006, Haunted Ireland. And this is the honesty with it, right? We got approached by these people who said they have another group that want to do a TV show, and there'll be 2 teams, and on each side there'll be a medium, and the medium needs to materialise spirits. And it's going to be called To Hell or Going to Hell.
Yeah.
And straight away, myself and Mark said, no. So then, the production team who were involved with this group pulled us to one side and said, to be honest, we don't want to do that either. Yeah. But what we'd like to do is like a Most Haunted. And they found a place down in Kildare that was on 10 acres that had a lot of history. And myself, Mark, and another medium called Colette went down, and we did vigils for 2 nights. 2 nights down there. And we had the infrared cameras and all that kind of stuff. And it was a great show. Now, we did pursue the production company and asked them for a DVD and a record, but they just kind of disappeared off the planet. So we don't really know what happened to them, which would have been nice to have a copy of that.
It'll probably pop up on television soon anyway.
It might pop up.
Can I just tell you a story about a paranormal investigation I was involved in? Okay. It was way up in Hertfordshire, in England, and what actually happened, they found a body buried inside a wall of a woman. And I was called in to have a look at it, and there was a paranormal team there. They used certain meters and that, and they had this device where spirit could actually talk through it. There was a delayed reaction, and the spirit person would kind of talk through it in a metallic kind of voice. It picked out words and things.
It's called a novelist.
A novelist, yeah, as such. Anyway, we decided to go and do the crossing over the person, or find out about them, and that involved me being put into trance. But before we get to that, we walked into the bar area after the pub had closed, and as we were sitting down in prayer, all the lights flashed. Every light bulb, every light lamp, every ceiling light, on and off for about 20 minutes. And that's an example of spirit playing with electrical things. There was raps and taps on the wall, and we managed eventually to cross the lady over to the world spirit. The story was that 200 years ago or something like that, her husband found out she committed adultery and was pregnant, so he killed her and she was holed up inside the wall. And the workman,
found her.
Years later, years and years later, knocked down the wall and found a skeleton in there. So that's just an example of paranormal investigation. I think the paranormal team were called Spooks of Hertfordshire. But they were a lovely bunch as such. But it just goes to show how psychic phenomenon or that kind of thing can happen with flashing lights and spirit affecting things and bangs on the wall.
And I would kind of recommend, I've seen, as I say, a few of these programs got to do with the paranormal side, and I would recommend that if anybody ever needs to get a paranormal team out to check out a haunting or something going on, make sure that the team have a medium with them or a sensitive with them, because I've seen too many...
and a real medium.
And a real medium, yeah. Because I've seen too many groups going out, not knowing what they're dealing with, not being able to deal with it, and not being able to move it on. So they kind of go out, they go, yeah, you have a ghost, and then they leave.
Make it worse.
Then, yeah, they make it worse.
Well, what I was just wondering very quickly is, that lady that was stuck in the wall, it sounds like that was an incident that happened and it went nicely. I mean, she was moved on, etc. Have you ever had a situation where something like this has happened, but it hasn't gone smoothly, whereby instead of moving the spirit on, the spirit has got angry and maybe attacked you?
No, to be honest. I hand on my heart, that has never happened. Every move on, it may have taken some time to move the person on because of their doubts and fears and things, but eventually I've always found, speaking, what I've done with others and that, they've always moved on. And don't forget, there's a spirit team on the other side pulling them through as well. Yeah. So it's not just the human side, it's the spirit side helping them in between.
Would you have to build up, before they move on, would you have to build up a certain level of trust with the spirit?
I don't know about trust, because you're actually doing something to help the spirit person, and your guides are there working with you as well.
Yeah. I think it's intention. Once your intention is right.
Right, yeah. Do it for the right reason, helping. Spiritualist mediumship is all about helping others. It's helping people to heal their bereaved hearts, to get on with their lives, to not fear death whatsoever, and to know that their loved ones are with them. And that's just done by one thing, evidence of survival, through the evidence that comes forward. Now, once again, let me repeat, you can't prove it as a medium. The proof is in the person who receives the message, whether it's yes, no, or whatever. Okay?
Yeah. Now, people say, they say, I'm not psychic, or I don't have any abilities, and I don't think, I'd be able to do this or anything like that. Everybody has a psychic ability, as Mark said. And
to a degree.
To a degree. But let's look at things that you might not be aware of, which are you're picking up, you're tuning in. Have you ever been in a car with somebody and you just about, you start pulling on the window and the person turns around to you and says, I was just about to ask you to do that. Or you're in the car and you put on the heater or you knock it off and somebody says, I was just about to do that or ask you to do that. Or you thought of somebody and all of a sudden the phone rings or a text message comes through. I get that all the time. The phone ringing, or more, especially the text messages. I think of somebody, bang, a text message comes through within a few minutes of me thinking about them.
I think a lot of people could probably identify with that. I think that would be common as far as I would think.
Yeah.
Especially the phone call.
And then what happens when the phone rings and you go, I was just thinking about you.
Yeah.
So because energy transcends space and time.
Don't forget you also telepathy as well. You could be picking up on the person's intention to ring you, and they ring, and you've been thinking about them by picking up previously, things like that. Or also, don't forget, it could just be coincidence.
Is there such thing as coincidence? We always say synchronicity.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
I'm a big believer of synchronicity as opposed to coincidence.
Yes, I believe in synchronicity, but I also believe, let's face it, there are coincidences along the way sometimes. We can't be too airy-fairy, heads up in the clouds sort of thing,
Yeah.
So back far in the wardrobe, we're in Narnia sort of thing,
Yeah. Well, when you're tuned into a partner or a child, mums tuned into the child when they know something is wrong and they pick up, or you're with your partner and you just feel there's something wrong and you phone them, okay, and then you find out there's a problem there.
It's all part of the sixth sense.
Yeah.
It really is. You're picking up on people, on vibration, on things like that sort of thing.
But it's amazing how many people don't acknowledge it and don't accept it.
Coincidence, and But yeah, as I say, there is coincidence, but there is also sixth sense as well.
Yeah,
beyond that.
Because there are, we've met people and they go, oh, all of that stuff is woo-woo, although they won't admit it themselves that they probably had a couple of experiences. Now, one of the things I have to say as well, talking about people not admitting to it and not being afraid to say something, Mark is going to be on platform on Sunday. As this show, pre-record goes out, he'll be on platform. And one of the worst things you can do to a medium on platform is when he gets the accurate information and picks you out and goes, I have your grandfather, father here, and he describes them to a T, and the person goes, no, that's not me. And then when the show is over, they come up to you after and go, that was actually for me, but I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to. I felt embarrassed. And that's a killer because it really does affect the medium. And I'm sure you've had that happen to you.
Not often, but time again it does happen. Something. Well, they come up to you after and say, oh, you said Paul, I just thought, that's my brother-in-law.
Yeah. Or sometimes you give a message to somebody and they say, no, I don't really understand that, I don't get it. And then they leave, and as they're driving home, they go, I know what that is.
I must give you a situation. One of the most funniest ones of that probably was when I was serving. Because I get paid, serving at Walthamstow Spiritualist Church. Came to a woman and said, sweetie, can you understand number 11, a very important number around you, number 11? And she thought, no, can't. Anyway, we finished the message. And I went on to someone else. All of a sudden, the woman previously I gave the message to jumped up and said, I can, it's my door number.
Right.
I said, madam, do you know where you live? But sometimes people are thinking of other things, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Can I just say a few things as well? People often say, oh, well, went to see so-and-so doing his mediumship the other night, and he was absolute rubbish last time. He was brilliant sort of thing, But maybe, he's had a bad day, or he's tired, or, just the engines weren't right at that time, And it's so easy to rubbish other medium or people who give him messages, as such. And people go to spiritualist churches and they want to hear from Uncle Bert, am I going to meet Miss Wright next year, sort of thing, am I going to move, And if they don't get that delivered, they get the hump.
Well,
it's evidence of survival,
put it this way. Put it this way. If people are working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, are they on fire 5 days a week?
No.
Do you have bad days in work where you're just tired and you're just fed up? I mean, I know when I worked, I had days like that. I know as a musician, I've done gigs and I've had bad gigs and I've had good gigs. And sometimes as a medium, you probably have a good day, a good gig,
night, bad night,
a good night, a bad night.
Yeah.
So. But I think people are too quick to jump on the bandwagon and judge because you're a medium.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some mediums who should really give up, and with all respect sort of thing, and they are not delivering the goods, let's put it that way, time and time again, and you can't push it if it's not there, I can't do, pole vaulting or anything like that. I wasn't born that way, I'm scared of heights anyway. And it's not natural to me. Yes, I'm a natural medium because I was born that way. I was sensitive as a child. I saw spirit. I saw my granddad leaning over my brother's bed one night and hid under the sheets. Things like that. I was aware that there are spirit or someone around me watching over me as such, And also, this thing about being born as a medium, sometimes, yes, you can be born as a medium. But, I mean, at the age of 13, you could become a bit of a Herbert and pull away from it sort of thing. And only later on as you get on in life, it comes back again. Because you've had to live through those life experiences. Remember what I said a while ago about it's the experiences that teach you to be empathic and caring. So when you're giving messages, you're on the same understanding level as the person who's going through what you went through years ago.
Well, I think that's very important because without going into detail, I know a bit about your life, and I can tell you now, people, Mark has been through the ringer 2 or 3 times in his life. So when he says, I understand, on something, he understands because he's been through it. So, and that's the thing, it's important that if you haven't been through it, there's no point saying, I understand, because you really don't. I can't, thank God, I can't understand the loss of a child.
Yeah,
right? I've never done it. You know, Mark can. So for me to turn around, or for anybody else to turn around and go, I understand. You can't. You don't understand, because that's very personal.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's, and I think, you know, if you do go to a medium and you do get a reading, and something does come up, and they do say, oh, I understand, and they haven't had that experience, then you kind of say, well, do they really understand?
A little thing about going for a private reading with a medium. Now, you should not be telling the medium things about you, you know, things like that. I did a service once, like, you know, I say, I got your mother here, and the woman stood up, said, yeah, she died in 1992, March the 17th, and we moved to Rugby after that with my dad, and he died 3 weeks. You've told me, you've ruined the message.
Yeah.
You know, the medium should tell you.
Yeah.
They should not milk you for information. They can say something, can you understand, because that's what they're picking up. That's what that's coming through their mind, and they're interpreting what it means. And another funny thing about that, Colin Fry, bless him, he passed recently, as such. He was giving a message to someone, and he could see razor blades floating around the fella's head. And it wasn't sort of he was going to cut himself or nothing like that, but the family name was Gillette. So it's by association. I was doing Hinton Road Spiritualist Church some weeks ago, and come to a woman with a message, gave her a message, and all of a sudden I got the words in my head, St. Patrick. I thought St. Patrick Island. I said Island to the woman. She said, yes, my mother's family name was Island. Spirit can work in symbols.
Yeah,
or association by, you know, as they try to bring the message in. And this is part of clairvoyance, seeing in your mind's eye something that looks completely dark. Or even clairaudience, hearing St. Patrick, Doom, Island.
Can I add to that? When I was in Circle one time, I got a message for one of the people in Circle. And I was given a church, an image of a church, and this massive mouth organ. Right, now, it wasn't a small mouth organ, it was a massive, big, huge mouth organ, right? And we always say in Circle, it's catchphrase, say what you see. Because the whole trick is confidence, being confident to say what you say and give the message. So I happened to say to the chap, I said, you know, what I'm getting for you is a church and a massive mouth organ. And I said, does that mean anything? And he said, well, yes, he said, I'm shipping a church organ over from the UK to Ireland.
By association.
Right? So they didn't show me a small mouth organ, because that wouldn't have made sense. They showed me a massive mouth organ because it was a church organ. Now, one of the things, Mark, you'll probably agree with me on this, hopefully you will. People say, how do you know it's from spirit, and how do you know it's your imagination? Well, this is my understanding based on a book I read of mediumship by a lady down in Sheppey. And she said, when you say, if you imagine a fire, right, your imagination will just show you a fire, or whatever way it looks, it'll be just a fire. Well, what spirit do is they put a twist on it. And they might have a flame shooting up in the air, which is not what your imagination would do. And they're the subtleties to say that that's spiritual rather than your imagination. Would you kind of agree with that?
Definitely. I mean, it's the old saying in spiritualism, the first thing that comes in is spirit talking to you. The second thing is your mind jumping in. And I've had some really daft things being said to me. I can't think off the top of my head what they were. And I just said them, and the people, some of them burst out crying, yes, because that is so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so,
Yeah. No, so it's first funny how it works. Steve, you're listening to me and Mark because you know that we've been together for 10 years and stuff like that. And is there anything there that rings a bell with you that's happened in your life that you can say, well, that kind of I can tie in with that and I can understand that?
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I can. At one point in time, I do remember that I think it was around the time, it could have been around the time when my grandfather passed away, and I'd heard some information before where people have said, sometimes where there's death and someone has passed over, you'll occasionally see a white feather. And of course, I heard about that, and it didn't mean anything. But then after my grandfather passed away, I think it was my grandfather anyway, or it could have been. No, it doesn't matter who it was. It was family relative anyway. But I remember after that, I was just walking somewhere. Again, don't remember where it was, but I do remember a feather just floating past me. There was no boards around. It was just a random feather came out of nowhere. No, but I mean, a lot of what you're saying makes perfect sense. And all the while I'm listening to you, I'm visualising the chat room, because obviously we're doing this is a pre-record, but I'm visualising the chat room on Sunday, and I'm visualising one of our regular posters, and he's just keeps posting up, we shouldn't be messing with this. This is the dark arts. We shouldn't be messing with this. Because a lot of the subjects that we talk about, Mark, is very controversial, and we do talk about, like we spoke with two lovely people there a couple of weeks back, Angel Rose and Ahanu, Kevin O'Grady, in relation to Akashic Records, and the chat room was hopping, no, you shouldn't mess with this, and I'm wondering, like...
But why shouldn't you? How much research has this person done?
Well, no,
how much research has this person done in spiritualist mediumship? Christ was one of the best mediums ever and the best healers. Who touched my cloak, I felt the healing energy go out of me. Yeah?
Yeah.
You know, predictions, by the time the cockle crows 3 times, you will have denied me 3 times.
And he believed in life after death. Didn't he rose again?
Yep.
You know, so there's the similarity. So people might, attack you from the church and from the pulpit, but if you look at going to the religious side, it actually ties in with everything that the mediums do. And
ignorance is no defence.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people have said, again, this is not me saying it, this has come up time and time again, that although, like, I can tell you, Sunday night it's going to be there, someone is going to be saying, you think you know what you're doing and you think you're helping people, however, while you are doing this, you're opening up channels and all this negativity is coming in, it's infesting the earth and we're all going to die and it's going to be horrible.
It was often said by Colin Fry that a lot of people who would have, especially when he was over in Ireland, Dublin, a few people, a number of people, were actually from the church. And they were interested in watching his TV programme in the morning, Sixth Sense. It brought so much healing to people.
Yeah, if you're helping people and making them feel better, and the intention is right, and healing them, what's the problem with it? I do think there's a level of ignorance there, and it's like, knowledge gives you choice, ignorance doesn't, as I always say. And if people are saying, well, you shouldn't do that, and as Mark says, how much do you know about this to make that comment?
You can't criticise unless you do a good in-depth look at things. I've read the Bible from end to end, and I believe in Christ myself. I mean, the teachings of Christ are actually fantastic, liberating, and things like that. But, the Bible is full of predictions, healing, miracles, apparitions, angels, etc., etc. So, and we all worship the same God.
Exactly. So, what's the problem?
Yeah, speaking of the Bible, there's a lot of interest in Bible predictions actually coming up, because we're heading towards September, and there's a lot of people saying that there's planetary alignments, there's all sort of things happening, there's crashes going on, that the rapture is coming.
666.
Have you heard anything, Mark, on that at all?
Bits and pieces, man. I read the book of Revelation of John, years ago, and it's absolutely fascinating, But I can't say I'm an expert on things like that, But what I have read, and I do understand, is that eventually, things have to give way. For every action, there's an alternative reaction, etc. And I think the Earth is at a turning stage now, and especially people now. People have been fed up, been pushed around, lied, and politicians, not all politicians, but some of them, are corrupt, and people have just had enough.
Yeah, I think somebody said to me today, he was a bit of a skeptic, said to me today that, you know what, I don't know much about what you guys do, but I do know there's a bubble ready to burst. She said, I feel it. Which is interesting. Now, one of the topics that we have to touch base on is, and well known in mediumship, is spiritual jealousy. And we've come across this, Mark, on numerous occasions.
Oh, yeah.
And believe it or not, it's spiritual snobbery, which is a new one I came across when I came over to Ireland. So, do you want to talk about the spiritual jealousy, and I'll touch base on the snobbery?
I actually had to endure it while I was in Circle, and I almost gave up being a medium, a fledgling medium that I was there, I went to another spiritualist church miles and miles and miles away, and a lady medium approached me and said, sit down, I've got something to tell you from Spirit. Spirit are aware of the jealousy around you. Do not give up. It is their lesson to learn, the person who's jealous, not you. You have a pathway in front of you where they want to work with you, for you to serve. But often if someone's inadequate and someone is, let's put it this way, a little bit better than them, jealousy comes from that inadequacy. And sadly there are some mediums out there that will see you as competition.
Okay, so that's the jealousy.
Yeah, that they want to be superstars, the next this and next that. It's not about that. It's about helping people.
And I've come across that myself, where I remember speaking to a medium, and one of the reasons why I kind of backed away from it over here and meeting people, because this medium said to me, oh yeah, I have to get 5 readings in this week to pay my mortgage, and completely missing the point why they should be doing readings is to help people. I mean, if they do it with the right intention, the energy and everything else will flow. But if they're doing it because they're worried about paying the mortgage, then it's just not the right energy.
Well, if they would have said to you to help people first, but it would help with the mortgage sort of thing after that, fine sort of thing. But we've all got to live.
Yeah, of course, yeah, we do.
Put food on the table, etc., and things like that, you know. But Spirit aren't stupid. They are intelligent, and they see our motives.
They know our attention.
And they think, well, we can trust this person, so let's, you know, work with them and enhance them and things like that. Now, I'm not sitting here having a go at people. Not all mediums are like that. Most of the majority of them are lovely people, men and women, who are dedicated and want to help people. So please do not think I'm criticising everyone, but there are the odd occasional ones.
You're always going to get
stars,
the bad apples.
Superstars, images sort of thing they want to be. But you can lose the true meaning of it when it becomes money orientated all the time.
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing it for.
And the spiritual snobbery, which I came across over here when I come back from the UK, was, well, I have a shop in this kind of really nice location, and your shop is in a rough area of the city, and so my place is better than yours.
Yeah.
That's the spiritual snobbery, and I just thought, these people are supposed to be working in the light and, you know, have reached a level of spiritual awareness or attunement where they should be service to others and they should be promoting that. But they're still on the materialistic plane, worrying that, you know, doing things like that.
Well, that's what you said. It boils down to service to others and service to Spirit. I mean, I do lots of things for no money whatsoever, because I simply want to help people, you know, and that's so important. But once you get, I'm only doing it for the money, for the fame, the ego, forget it. That's not ethical.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
if it does come to you, fantastic, brilliant, great stuff, you know. And if somebody's a better medium than myself, brilliant, lovely, and I walk out smiling out of that church and think, what a lovely service to help so many people, that person who's given the messages to that.
Yeah.
To them, you know.
Here's the benefit of working with a medium who's better than you, and this is the positive side, right?
Yeah.
I know I can't speak from this side, but I'll speak from a musician side, right? If you play in a band with musicians who are better than you really up your game.
Yeah, you learn from them.
So you learn from them, you respect them, and you really buzz, right? And that's the benefit of it. So if you are working with somebody that's better than you at something, enjoy it and learn from the experience and learn from what they know. Don't be jealous of them. Just say to yourself, God, this is great. I'm learning all a bit about this, and this person's like good at what they're doing, and I'm learning all this stuff. But unfortunately, as you say, with some people in mediumship, you know, they're jealous of it rather than, you know, say positive envy. Say, well, I want to develop and be as good as them, and I want to learn from them, and this is a great opportunity.
Even though they're all on the same team, technically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. So, and this is the problem with a lot of time in mediumship. So, you know, we will say to people out there, look, there are good mediums out there. They have the right intention. They do good readings, and they're good people. But there's always the charlatans and the people, you know, the few in the barrel that destroy it and try to destroy it. And you just have to use your own discernment and get recommendations off people, which is probably the best thing.
I mean, the worst scenario is these cards you get dropped through your letterbox. Psychic, stellar, a doctor in mediumship. I can help you with your immigration problems. I can put your marriage back together again. I can cure this. I can remove attachments to you. It's a load of old junk. And if you go and have a reading from this person, yes, they charge you something like £30, something like that. But all of a sudden, by some reason, you got an attachment to you. Oh, I can remove that for £300.
Yeah.
Come back to me next week and I'll remove it for £300. It's just a rip-off.
It's like one of them viruses you get on your computer, and you say, we'll remove it, but you have to pay £200 to do it. Isn't it? Again,
it's also like, and I seen this a while ago, there was an expose on some TV channel. One of these guys in America, I can't remember, was it Peter Popoff?
Yep, seen that, yeah.
I mean, Peter Popoff, he had the millions of people convinced that he was obviously the second coming, he was the new Messiah, and he would go and do these shows as well. And they showed you some of the information, and a guy went in, done the expose, went in, a scanner.
Changed around you, wasn't it?
Yeah, he went in with a radio scanner, and he's there and he's listening, going, okay, and I can hear, now Peter, over on your left, this lady on your left, she's from Texas and she's just lost her husband. His name was Bob, and he go, I'm getting a Bob. Someone, you've lost Bob. Oh! And he was raking it in. He really had people hoodwinked. I mean, when you're talking about deceiving people, that guy done it big time, and there's loads more besides him.
Well, trouble when money's involved is corruption. As I said, I have given many messages and done lots of spiritual serving and not asked a penny for it.
Well, I'm glad Steve said that, because one thing I want to talk about is medium worship.
Yes.
Right, and that's very important. And I've seen this with, well, Mark can talk about his experience, but do you remember a medium that we knew in the UK called John Alexander?
Yeah.
Right, John, really nice guy, knew all about the New World Order elite and all that as well. And I remember John invited me down to his house, and we were talking about this stuff. And he actually had to get an answer machine in, because there was women ringing him up saying, what car will I get? What colour will it be? What shall I paint my house? They literally didn't want to do anything until they spoke to him.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is that we have free will, and they're the choices we make. And what's your experience in medium worship?
Well, you've got to live your life, the whole thing, and the way I curtail it is, yes, I'll give you one reading, I may give you one after that, 2-3 weeks later, but I won't see you for another year. You've got to live your life, and it's, to be honest, quite annoying, because, come on, think, get on with your life. Your loved one in spirit wants you to make decisions and choices.
Yeah, and so, medium, I mean, you have to be aware of this. You shouldn't follow anybody.
No.
You should follow yourself.
I'm guessing they're not really following the medium, though. I mean, if the medium is giving them a message from Auntie Maisie, then obviously they just want Auntie Maisie's information all the time.
It's not coming from the medium, it's coming from the spirit person, their ancestor, their loved one in spirit. A medium is not a super demigod who knows everything. He is what it says on a label. The medium is the person in the middle between spirit and the receiver of the message. The message comes from spirit through the medium to the sitter.
Well, your channel.
Yeah, your channel. Yeah.
Do you have difficulty with spirits who are probably new, who've passed over, and they're finding it hard to communicate through you, and you have difficulty going, I'm not understanding what the message is?
I can tell you a story about that. I was doing a private reading somewhere. Desperate lady come to me as such, and I said, I've got your aunt here, and she's saying, burning, burning, I'm burning. I thought, that's weird. But I gave it to the lady, and she said, oh my God, it was a cremation today.
Oh.
So she had passed about a week or so before that.
Wow.
Some spirits naturally can communicate back. Some find it a little bit hard. Some are traumatised from the life or the death they've had and find it a little bit harder, so they have to be nursed back to stability.
Well,
they can
we have to talk about suicides, because we've had so many suicides over here in Ireland. What happens
same
with
in England with what's been going on?
The evictions and the repossessions and
the bedroom tax and people not able to pay it, and disabled, which is despicable, to treating disabled people.
So what happens, and I've had it personally in a family member, happening to a family member, what happens in that case with suicides?
Well, they're not damned to hell. Suicide is a desperate plea for help. And depression is such a... Well, you think illogically, and that. Once you pass over to the world of spirit, you're nursed back to stability, to a stable mind, etc.
Okay.
But you may feel a little bit of guilt, or you will feel guilt for those you left behind in such a traumatic way. But the world of spirit is full of understanding, and that is love and compassion and healing.
Well, I think that's where we have to go. We've mentioned it before on the show about, yes, we're in a universe of duality, and we have to go to a universe of singularity, which is love. And, you know, it's a cliche, I know, but the Beatles sang about it, all you need is love, because, seriously, if we had one frequency of love on the planet, everything would change.
But we wouldn't learn, would we?
Well, no, I mean, maybe there's a time where we say, right, we've done what we've done, we know, and maybe we move on to the next life, and that's it. You know, we don't come back, we don't reincarnate, and we don't carry on. I don't know.
Well, in this life, you know, if we didn't have hate and things like that, we wouldn't be able to appreciate love. Does that make sense? You know, in the physical realm.
It does make sense, but there has to be a finite end to this.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah,
definitely. You know, when you pass over to the world of spirit, you're not instantly, you know, knowing all and seeing all and that. You're still learning, you're still growing, you know, in the world of spirit, and eventually, over time, possibly, you'll know a little bit more and be able to ascend a little bit higher, you know, and things like that. We're just going to recap again about mediumship as well, spiritual mediumship. I talked about attunement, and that's just sitting down with your guide, pushing your aura out with your mind, asking your guide to walk through your aura, stand by your side, and then go mind to mind with you. Just in that silence and picking up things from your spirit guide. Yes, meditation is important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You will grow and develop faster by doing the attunement as such. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. And you're going to be doing a workshop on, you know, when this pre-record goes out, it'll be done. But you are doing a workshop on attunement rather than meditation. Yeah, and the do's and don'ts of spiritualist mediumship, etc. How it works, the mechanics of it. You know, what is lazy mediumship, and things like that. You know, it's just to help others. Now, I will say that this attunement, that is about raising your frequency. Yeah. Because connecting. We've heard this from numerous guests on the show, OYM, and I heard it. I was on a conference last night with 7 people from the States, and an individual who was on the conference, and these are people who are involved in what we do in OYM, and an individual said, you have to raise your frequency. And it was also one of the things that was said to me by Angel from the Akashic Records, that I need to not so much, not step away, but I need to take another view of what's going on to raise my frequency a bit higher. And I will be doing the workshop with you tomorrow. And I'm learning a bit more about disenchantment, just for myself, not about mediumship, not about doing readings, but just attunement to try and tune my frequency and go a little bit higher. Because we all need to do that, because we need to, you know, we had Karen and we had Tony on, and they talked about it. They talked about raising our frequency, because the energy hitting the planet now is making massive changes, and the positive is getting positive and the negative is getting negative, and we're seeing a lot of changes. And the negative people, the psychopaths and all that, and New World Order, well, apparently they can't handle this frequency, that's the frequency change that's happening, and they're just going to self-implode. But we need to be aware of that, and we need to be developing ourselves and be able to raise our frequency as well and go with the change on the planet. Which is quite interesting. You're talking about attunement, so I think we all have to be aware of that in some way. Was it Karen MacDonald told us last week that the frequency of the planet has actually changed? Yeah, it's gone. The Schumann frequency has gone from 7.5 to 21. Because so changes are taking place. Changes are taking place, and Tony said that he has contact with a number of scientists who have confirmed that the area of space that the Earth is going into, or our universe is going into, not universe, but our planetary system's going into, is changing. It's a higher frequency. Now, we're going to have Dr. Simon Atkins on in a few weeks' time, and he's going to be talking about wave X and the energy hitting the planet anyway. And a lot of people are saying they're feeling it. They're feeling the change is taking place.
Well, would it be fair to say then, just talking about that kind of sideline, that if the frequency is starting to change, we've gone from 7 to 21, then maybe we are starting to pass slowly into the fifth dimension, or?
Yeah, well, there's no reason why we might not. Now, we don't know what's coming down the line, Steve, with September. Yeah. There's a lot of predictions going on. As I say, the 7 individuals that I was on the Skype with last night, one of them in particular was a whistleblower, an insider, and I'm going to get this person on the show. And she has a wealth of information, and she told me things that might possibly be going on in September. So we just have to be aware of it, you know, and for some people they won't be, and they'll just carry on. They'll be in the matrix and nothing will change for them. I don't know what's going to happen to them. Again, it's the 33%.
Yeah.
So the people who understand what we're talking about and want to get involved in this and tune up, start getting involved, start learning about it, join a local group, or if you can get a local group or somebody who knows about it, and start getting in tune with it, you know, and understand it, because it's going to benefit them anyway. Even if nothing happens from a health point of view, I think once you're on a higher frequency, you'd be less unwell.
Slightly changing that, but it is kind of akin with what you were saying there, Alan. A lot of people say, well, I'm spiritual, you know, their heads are in the clouds and they're walking around like, well, you know, think what, you know, kind of thing. Spiritual is not, yes, spiritual is learning about your spirituality as you as a spirit, as a person. We're all spirit within human bodies. But actual spiritualness is actually helping other people. Think of the great teachers, Christ, the healers, putting yourself last and healing people and helping people. That's the real essence, and being empathic with people and caring for people. That's the real essence, the real flavour of what being spiritual is.
Do you think
so? Anyone who says, "Oh, well, I run a spiritual development circle," no, sorry, you don't. You run a mediumship development circle.
Do you think when people say, "Oh, I'm spiritual," do you think that's just a new catchphrase?
Yes. I mean, anyone, I can say I got pink hair, but you know I haven't. I've got nowhere. Yeah. But it's the emperor's clothes again, isn't it? You know,
it's just the buzzword now.
Trend. I mean, it could be something else in 5 years' time. Who knows, sort of thing. But all I can say is to those people who are developing as mediums, enjoy it. Don't rush it. Remember, it's a slow journey, and the slower the journey is, the more you will pick things up and take things in. Remember, it's not an instant. It's an unrolling, unpedaling slowly as time goes on. And always trust your spirit, guys. They will always be your best teachers. They really will. And please do it for the right intentions.
Yeah.
Because it is sacred.
And talk to your guides.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, your guides are your best friends. They've known you since you were born, and they know everything about you. You can't hide anything. And I know a lot of people, you know, I'm sure we all do it. We might be in the car or in the bath or somewhere in the house on our own, or wherever it is, and we start talking. You know, or we say, why doesn't it? You know, I mean, I'm sure we've all done it. And I think that's healthy. I think it's good.
Yeah. I mean, you might get certified if someone catches you, but no. Talking to guys like you were saying, you know, talking to your grandma or someone like that, they can hear and they can give you signs that they are around. You know, and the medium is there to train up to be that radio, that transmitter between the two worlds, to bring through that evidence of survival, and that is the key word. Spiritualist mediumship is evidence of survival.
And don't be afraid. If there is something that has happened to you, or you are seeing things, you know, I have, as I'm sure Mark has as well, had people come up to us and say, I don't understand what's going on, and I don't like this, and why am I seeing this, and why is this happening? And once you sit them down and explain what's going on, then they make the choice whether they want to pursue it or close it down.
I mean, the rapping on the wall, the tapping on the wall, or whatever is happening paranormal, could just be Granny saying, look, I'm here, please talk to me. You know, once you start talking to her, she doesn't do that anymore, you know. And people imagine, because of Hollywood and things like that, oh, it's the mad axe murderer coming back to murder me and it's going to appear in my room as a spirit, and rubbish.
That's exactly what happened to me. I was getting rapping on the wall, and I had joined Mark's circle at the time, and I acknowledged the rapping. Right? And it didn't spook me, didn't bother me. It was quite entertaining, actually. I knew between the hours of 9 o'clock and 11 o'clock, when my family were in bed, I was watching TV, I'd get a rap on the wall, and it was the wall that was in the middle of the house, not where the neighbours were. And I got you to come around.
Talk to them, yeah.
I spoke to them, I acknowledged them, and I got Mark to come around, and Mark picked up on 2 spirits in the house, and
gin and vodka.
And after that, and we went into one of it was in the box room where we actually seen an orb, and Mark actually seen a shimmer on the landing as well. And there weren't negative spirits; they were just people that obviously lived in the house maybe at some time, and I think we did cross them over in circle, didn't we?
Circle, yeah.
And it was a good experience, you know, and it was no bother, you know, and I do find, and I've heard this time and time again, that just family want to be acknowledged. They don't want to be forgotten. You know, and so
it's the old saying: don't be afraid of the dead. You know, be afraid of the living, and they do you more harm the living will than the dead.
Exactly,
so-called dead.
Speaking of orbs, now, this is something I was looking into there kind of recently. A lot of people taking photographs, as they do, and when they're looking back at the photographs, and it's even better now, they're saying with the digital stuff, because it's the clarity is amazing. But they're saying that when you take a picture in a room, some people were saying when you take a picture in a room and you have this little orb, what looks like an orb on the picture, some people are saying, no, it's a speck of dust or it's a reflection of something. And experts seem to be now saying, no, because of the camera and the digital camera, it can pick up so many frequencies that it is actually recording or photographing orbs. And they're saying that when they zoom in on some of these orbs, that some of the information that's coming from them, it's mind-blowing stuff.
We can actually see figures in there, like, you know, or geometrical patterns. I was with a friend once, and we was using a camera, and we actually picked up an orb coming through the back door and moving as if it had a mind of its own, stopping and then deciding to go off somewhere else. And it kept repeating that pattern time and time again. So obviously there's some intelligence there, isn't there?
Yeah.
You know,
it seems like it is. Yeah.
And people have seen images and faces in orbs as well. Yeah. Now we've reached that time tonight. Unfortunately, we have to wrap things up. One more question from Steve.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to mention this at the end, but I know we mentioned I've actually got 2 questions. The last time we had Mark on, we said that, you know, over in the UK, in London, that there are a lot of places where people can go if they're interested, churches if you want to use that terminology, and we said there's not a lot over here, and I'm guessing, do we know in the past 2 years since we've done this, has that changed at all?
Well, I know there's a spiritual centre down in Clondalkin. And obviously Oldcastle here we have the spiritual centre, and there are a few around Ireland, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
So you really need to do your research and ask around, but I'm sure if you rang one of the centres and they, you know, if you live in a location where you're not near, say, Oldcastle or Clondalkin, I'm sure somebody there would be able to help them or point them in the right direction.
There's probably quite a few spirit-minded people, spiritualists, shall I say, scattered around. It's just that connection with each other, knowing that they're there.
Yeah, I think, and the word of mouth.
And my final question is, the last time we had you on and we spoke about the DVD, a collaboration that both Mark and Alan did a couple of years ago on a DVD, a guide to spiritualism. Now, I watched that and I thought it was amazing. I'm just wondering, for anyone who may be interested in what you're speaking about tonight, is that still available?
Yes, it's quite comprehensive. Covers many aspects: chakras, auras, ghosts, what is residual energy? You know, what are orbs? How do you work with spirit? It's a good viewing. It really gives you a whole picture of what we're dealing with. You know, so yes, definitely available.
Yeah,
Alan.
Yeah, and the idea behind it was that originally, when myself and Mark were looking for information about a guide to mediumship, there was none out there. You know, and even 10 years further on down the road, there's still nothing out there. So it's something that myself and Mark collaborated on, and it is something that, as I say, you know, it's more got to do with the content. You know, there's no special effects, there's no bells and whistles. It was done 10 years ago, but the content is still relevant today.
Yeah, never changes really.
So it's the content is the important thing, you know. So don't expect Steven Spielberg special effects, because you won't get them. But it's the content that's very important.
It does go into detail in each subject as it covers through the film.
It goes into detail in a lot of the subjects that you'll come across as a medium. If you're interested in mediumship, or even mediums out there who want to learn, because over in the UK you have the SNU and you have organisations and they teach you all about ethics of mediumship and all that kind of stuff, like certify evidence, reason, terminate. And over in Ireland we don't really have them. And a lot of mediums over here, well, not a lot of mediums, but a few mediums actually go on to the SNU or the SNUI and learn from there. And we need kind of an Irish governing body, because maybe it's the blind leading the blind, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but if you haven't been trained properly through a proper centre, then you can only do what you can do. You know, and I'm not saying they're doing it wrong, it's just when you have the proper ethics and the methods used and all that kind of stuff, it just makes it more professional and more
just to talk about it, I mean, you say training, yes, to a point, mediumship development is training, but it's also a natural inbred thing. You've got that gift as such. And you can't go to an organisation and say, okay, I want to be a medium, make me the best medium you can ever get me, I want to be the next Colin Fry or whoever. It doesn't work that way. Yes, it's good to sit in a circle with an experienced medium to teach you the ropes, the wrongs, the rights, the dangers, etc. But it all depends on you as a person. Was you born that way? How high can you develop? How far can you develop? It doesn't mean you've got to give up if you wasn't born that way, because, you know, you can assist with scoring a goal, put it in that kind of way.
Exactly,
with Pele there, you know.
Yeah.
But please, by all means, continue your development. Even if it's the one message that you can give to someone out there that helps them, helps change their life, helps them turn in a different direction.
Or even makes a change. I mean, my path went a little bit different, because myself and Steve got together and started doing OYM. But we have found, even today, Steve, I'll tell you the story I heard today of a lady who I met today, who's a neighbour of my sister, just before we wrap up this, because it's kind of quite relevant. She has started to listen to OYM. And she said that she had a son that was born where the cord was cut around his neck and he was starved of oxygen, and he obviously had issues with his brain. And the child was just 90 miles an hour all the time. And she started listening to our show, and she listened to Tony Hughes when Tony came on the show. She booked an appointment with Tony, brought the son to Tony, and Tony did a scan and did all. He spent about 2.5 hours with the child, scanned him, checked him, everything else, and starts saying, right, you need to give him this. He needs to come off all the meds he's on, right, and start giving him this stuff. She said the change in her son after doing that and seeing Tony, and now he's on, it's unbelievable. He's now gone from 90 miles an hour to about 25 miles an hour.
Wow.
You know, even
that's what it's about, really, isn't it?
I seen her son today, and he was talking, and he was sitting down watching the TV. He doesn't do that. She said he doesn't do that. He never did that before, with all these meds he was on. Now, he comes in, talks, and then goes back out and then sits down and watches TV.
But we've said that before. That, I mean, if that was the only goal that OYM was ever going to achieve, well, we've done something.
Yeah.
If we've helped educate that woman, and she's got help from Tony for her son.
And that's what it's all about, helping people.
That's it. And we, as we say, we've always said, we have a moral conscience, and we feel we have to do this. And that's the whole idea behind OYM.
Yeah.
So that's our intention. You know, and, you know, I'm not going to go down the bragging route. You know, the people know out there, we've been in contact with people, and they've sent emails in, and they've just said thank you, and, you know, and it's nice to know that if we get a guest on the show that helps them, and changes their life, or changes something that improves their life, hey, you know, I'm happy.
It's a job well done, so.
It is. Mark, before you go, we want to get your website address, where people can get the DVD, and anything else you want to add.
Right, the website is www.alloneword.circleofwhitelight.com. That's www.alloneword.circleofwhitelight.com.
Okay, and obviously the DVDs on there available to purchase
through this website.
Okay, well, when this recording goes out, you will be on platform, right? So and I'll be there, and I'm sure there's going to be a few people there.
I've heard.
I reckon there's going to be
one or two anyway.
One or two, you know. Look, our listeners, we went from 5 to 6, Steve.
Granny's tuning in again, is she?
Yeah. So I'm just going to congratulate you now. Well done. It was a great night. Okay. Even though it's a pre-record.
And just say thank you for inviting me to come on your show. I know it's beaming out worldwide.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to reach people. And thank you. Thank you both, Steve.
Mark, it was more of a kidnapping though than anything else.
It was. We've had a very long day today, so we all need to get into our beds. We're not getting any younger. But Mark, thanks a lot for coming on the show. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com and ICRadioNetwork.com.
That was Mark Impey, international medium, who we have promoted there for the past couple of weeks. Some good information. Again, as we say from time to time, it's just information. We're not telling anyone to believe this. This is just information that was given to us by Mark. We're not saying that it's 100% accurate, because we don't know. It's Mark's interpretation of the path that he is on in his life. We can probably identify, I'm sure everyone can identify with some of what Mark said, but look, it's just information. Everyone's going to interpret differently. Everyone is going to have their own beliefs. We all know the world is full of experts and full of all different religions and people telling you how you should and shouldn't live your life. But at the end of the day, we just don't know. So anyway, that's it. That was the interview. That was Mark Impey, as we say. www.circleofwhitelight.com is the website if you want to find out some more information. Again, Mark has a DVD as well. The DVD has some good info on it as well, if you want to check it out. Anyway, what else was I going to mention? You're just saying some information. While I was actually sitting back there with the feet up and the cup of tea. Well, it wasn't a cup of tea, it was a glass of water, but I'm just going to say a cup of tea because it sounds better. I was just checking out some information. Now, at the top of the show, I did mention, I gave out a link there for a YouTube channel, a video, in relation to Peter of England and the WERE Bank, W-E-R-E Bank. Now, as I say, I've watched 90% of that video. I don't know what happens in the end, but just while I was kind of listening to what goes on and typing away in the chat room, I did pop onto Facebook, and I noticed some information there in relation to Peter of England. And again, it's a video. I haven't watched it yet. I can't even share it because it was literally only moments ago. And it does say that the man should not be trusted. Again, here we go. This man is giving us information, and like, it sounds good. It sounds fantastic actually from what he says. But now we're being told by another poster not to trust the man. So again, it's a case of use your discernment, because we just don't know. Anyhow, seemingly back on the water protest, seemingly RTE edited the news video. Well, there's no surprise there, really. I mean, RTE, of course, they're going to edit stuff, but the coverage that they gave to with the water protesters, it seems that they edited the video. At the start, you see thousands of people, and that was nothing compared to the many thousands. They did not pan the camera's view, nor did it take in the further thousands that had not even arrived onto O'Connell Street. They jumped to where the protest had almost ended, and that's where you see a large amount of people had left. Again, that's just some information that I came across on the internet there while just checking out more information on the protests. Seemingly, again, RTE are not giving the full story, but then again, would we have expected anything less? No, I don't believe we would. What else? What else did I mention? At the beginning I mentioned, and again, this is to be confirmed, about that man, and that story really kind of annoyed me, but essentially the man with multiple sclerosis who displays a disabled driver badge in his car was arrested and taken to Cork prison in a wheelchair after refusing to pay a €40 parking fine. That's just, it's disgraceful. And actually, while during this week I had some annual leave, so we just kind of went on a little trip down to the south of the country, down to Waterford. And there's actually a couple down in Waterford now. I seen them from a distance, and I'm embarrassed to say that I never actually got over to speak with these people. And I had a quick look on the internet and I couldn't find any information. But seemingly they were evicted again. It's a classic case of the evictions, just like we had here in Kells not so long ago. But these people in Waterford were evicted from their home. They are actually homeless. They're on the street. They have all their worldly possessions in 2 or 3 shopping trolleys. They had some signs up just basically saying that they are homeless, and I think the wife is pregnant. And it's not a case of they're going to become homeless, so they've asked the government for help, or the local council. They are actually homeless. They are living on the street. They have asked for help, and the local council is not interested. I don't know the full ins and outs of the story, but it's definitely one to check out or watch, because it's in Waterford. I'm sure it has come already to every county in Ireland, and our own Kells County Meath is no exception. But yeah, it beggars belief, and you see the likes of your man Alan Kelly, who's he thinks he's doing a fantastic job, and he's going to stand in his ground, and he's the man. And the likes of the Enda Kenny believes he may be in for another term in government, because he even believes that he's doing a fantastic job. Of course he does, because he's listening to the wrong people. He's listening to the people in Europe who are telling him he's a great boy and he's a good boy and he's going to get rewarded when he has fleeced this country into oblivion. But again, of course, it's the people on the street. He should be listening. He should be listening to the electorate. Now, what else did I come across while I was just sitting back relaxing? I came across a list, and I'm gonna put the URL for this list on the chat room. I found it through Facebook, so I'm guessing everyone else should be able to access it as well. But when I spoke at the top of the show about when these parasites are coming around looking for your vote now in the next election, and they're going to promise the sun, the moon, the stars, the water, and you should have some questions laid out for them. But I actually found a list, and it's a lovely list. I'm just going to glance through it and just let you know. It says on it, voters beware. Here's the list of some of the Fine Gael and Labour achievements since getting into power. So these are their achievements since they've been in power the past 5 years. Fuel allowance scheme cut from 32 to 26 weeks. Fuel allowance cut by 25%. Rent allowance cut. Clothing and footwear allowance cut. Disability, these are the big ones now. Disability allowance entitlement age raised to 18. Disability allowance rates cut for over 18s. Carers allowance was cut. That was a big one. That was a very, very hot topic. And again, when they come around knocking on your door, we need to have all these ready for them. All these little missiles to throw at them. All these cuts that they inflicted on the population. What else we got? The telephone allowance axed completely. Well, I never benefited from that. I think that was if you're over 65, you got a telephone allowance. One parent family benefit cut for children over 7. Child benefit cut at least 3 times under Fine Gael and Labour. 6 in total, it says here. Illness benefit qualifying period raised from 6 days to 3 days. Invalidity. There's a big word for me. Invalidity pension is cut. Bereavement grant axed completely. I never really knew too much about that, but I do believe that when somebody died, there was a little bereavement grant that you got, if just in case you know. I'm guessing it's for funeral expenses. But that's gone. The universal social charge, which was supposed to be a temporary measure, we mentioned that before, that was supposed to be a temporary thing here in Ireland, and it was going to be reviewed. Seemingly it was reviewed, and they decided, this is great, let's keep it. So they've kept that. The VAT rate has been raised. College fees have been raised. Unemployment benefit for under 25s has been cut in half. 80,000 people emigrating per year. I didn't believe I seen something there recently where they're trying to encourage all the people who've emigrated to come back. Why? Why the hell would they want to come back to this place? The other hot topic is medical cards. Let's not forget that when they come knocking on the door, because I mean this was kind of early on in the year, but let's not forget this one, because this again it was done by the current government. The medical cards taken off sick, elderly and terminally ill patients. Now, I know that they did say, they tried to explain that away by saying they outsourced it to another company, and of course, you know, the other company made a hames of it. So, well, it was still done under this government. So, let's remember that as well. What else we got? We have an insurance levy imposed. We have local property tax introduced. That hasn't gone away either. We're still fighting that, the property tax. Just in case anyone, I know it's probably getting taken out of a lot of people's wages, unless of course you're still fighting or you're self-employed. But the property tax, that's still a hot topic as well. Where are we? Local services starved of funding. The local property tax proceeds donated to starving bankers. Yes, to the starving bankers. I've never seen a starving bank. I've never seen a skinny banker. What is a gift card tax sneaked in quietly? Now, I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. I'm not sure, but is that the gift cards that you used to buy in the post office, where you could, you know, if you didn't know what to buy someone as a present, you sent them a gift card. So they've got a tax on that. I'm guessing that's what it is. And the last one on the list: nepotism and cronyism still persisting big time under Fine Gael and Labour. And it says, have you or your loved ones been affected? Will you vote them back in? Make sure that everyone in your household is registered to vote. Of course, a lot of people will argue that point as well. They'll say, voting, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. It's all rigged. It's a pain. It's corrupt. And I probably would believe that, actually, to be totally honest, because well, they say we get the government we deserve, but you know, I don't think that in the last the likes of the recent referendums that we had, I think, personally speaking, it was the vote went a different way, but the government always seems to get what they want. Anyway. What's the last thing on the list? The last thing on the list is to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. It's been a hoot in a handbag doing this from my back room. Next week's guest is Dr. Simon Atkins. We spoke about Dr. Atkins recently. So if the planet doesn't explode and we're all still here, you've that to look forward to. And yeah, I think that's about it. Best of luck to Alan. I'm sure Alan's going to be checking out the podcast. So, Alan, hope you had a great night. And lovely to see Mark again. Great information there. Great guy. I think that's it. We're just gone up to 9 o'clock. So if you're listening on the People's Internet Radio stream, stay tuned for Vin. And I'll say sayonara, and we'll do it all again next week. Let's just hope when I press this button that we do get the jingle and nothing else. Okay, for myself, Stephen George, take it easy. We do it all again next week. Bye-bye.
Open your mind.